we're going to be looking at this question for the next few weeks. What does it take to engage students in 2020? And we use the word engagement in a very intentional way. It's one thing to reach students, that question of meeting students, that question of just having a casual conversation. It's important, it's really important. But engagement is even deeper. Engagement is, I like to look at these two quotes from Pope Francis, where he said in 2013, we need a church capable of walking at people's side, of doing more than simply listening to them, a church that accompanies them on their journey. And then 2 years later, he said, we are promoters of the culture of encounter. And that is easier said than done on our college campuses today. But this idea of engagement is not just, I get to know you, but it's, I see you, I get to know you, I know your name, I want to be in a relationship with you, and because Christ loves you and I love you, I want to involve you in this deep, rich work of the church so that you can be the best disciple of Christ that you can be. So this is, I would say too, part of this, what I call a good news story. These are just some of the quotes, some of the articles about you all from just the last couple of months, whether we look at our Sunday Visitor or Busted Halo or National Catholic Register from just a few weeks ago. People are talking about Catholic campus ministry, and so we wanted to continue to put a light on it. So these are essentially the steps that we went through in order to produce this book and this online course, and essentially this whole thing we're talking called essential engagement. So the first step was we had to find funding. Why do you need money for something like this? Well, if you're going to interview people on campuses, if you're going to write a book, you're going to publish it, distribute it to every bishop in the country, every diocesan director, and then anybody else who wants a copy, that takes money, and then you have to promote it. So the second stage was we had to choose a team. How were we going to shine a light on certain campuses around the country? Not the best campuses, not those that had the most money, but campuses that were fruitful. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. So we included the foundation that funded this project, and then it was myself and Barbara McCrabb, the Assistant Director for Higher Education at the Secretariat for Catholic Education at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. So there's a mouthful. And is that to say that Barbara and I know every single campus around the country? No, but Barbara has forgotten more about campus ministry than I'll probably ever know. She's been doing this a long time and doing it well. And over the course of the last 5 years, we both felt collectively that we had a pretty good sense of the campuses that at least merited an initial spotlight. Then we wanted to interview the directors of those campuses, and then now we're in the final stage where we're publishing it. Again, I mentioned we're providing copy to every bishop in the country, to our diocesan directors, and it's available today on Amazon. And it's very reasonable. We were looking for fruitful campus ministers and fruitful campus ministries. We wanted a sense of geography. We didn't want just campuses in the Southeast or just campuses in New England. We wanted this to represent campuses all over the country. We wanted different types of students, not just students who might be able to go to a quote unquote top tier university, not just traditional students, your 18 to 22-year-old kind of student. We wanted students who were commuters. We wanted students with different ethnicities and races and backgrounds. We wanted different students who, some were kind of legacy students and some were first generation college students. We wanted different types of students. We wanted both Catholic and non-Catholic colleges. There's just over 3,000 four-year colleges, but only 200 or so are Catholic colleges. So there's a lot to choose from. And we wanted a diverse staffing. In other words, some campuses have a lot of staff. Some have just 2 or 3. And you might be saying, I would love that. I'm just a campus minister of 1. Well, I don't know if we have any campus ministries of 1, but we have some really small teams and some really large teams that are in the final book. Round 1 included 15 campuses, but we already are starting to imagine and dream of who might be in round 2. So don't fret if you're not in this first round. We also are going to highlight 5 lessons learned, and we'll talk about 3 of them today, but they are clarity of purpose, means of engagement, informed decision-making, professional development, and then how that campus responded to COVID-19. So we put all of that in a blender, and out of it comes what we have called essential engagement, discovering the 5 key areas for student engagement, answering that question, what does it take to engage today's student in 2020? And essential engagement has 2 components, a book, which Courtney was holding up earlier, in which we raffled off 3 copies, and you can pick one up today on Amazon. Don't do it now, but you can order one later, and also an online course. And there's the link where you can find out even more, ccmanetwork.org/essential. It's also on the home page under resources, or just look for the big banner on the home screen. These are the 15 campuses. So I won't read them all to you, but you can see there's a real diversity. You can see that there are probably some campuses that you've heard of, and there might be a few that you've never heard of. And you're saying, wow, I'd like to hear what they're doing. There are some urban campuses, there are some suburban campuses, there are some rural campuses. So you get to read about all of these in the book. The online course is going to be a complement to that, where we'll have 3 recorded calls with most of the directors from these different campuses. We'll have actionable PDF downloads and checklists that you can use the moment you purchase the course. And we'll offer an online discussion group. Again, if conversation and dialogue is your thing, that'll be a great outlet for just sharing ideas. That'll be available most likely in early November. The other nice thing is when you purchase the book, if you go to that URL that I shared before, you can enter in, there's a form where you just fill out the form and you can get 10% off the cost of the online course. And oh, by the way, the course hasn't been priced yet, but it's going to be extremely affordable. So don't worry, you don't need to start saving today. You'll be able to afford it. So today we're going to be looking at clarity of purpose, informed decision-making, and response to COVID-19. And then next week, Barbara's going to talk about the other two key areas for student engagement. So when we talk about clarity of purpose, we're talking about, these are campuses that have a profoundly Jesus-centered mission. They're not trying to be all things to all people. They're not spinning 20 plates. They're very, very focused. And they embrace and promote their Catholicism. Second, when we talked about informed decision-making, these are campuses that they measure things consistently, month after month, year after year. And they take pride in that, almost in a nerdy way. They like measuring things because they feel like the data they get from what they measure helps them make better decisions, which allows them to say yes to certain things and no to a lot of things. But it's always within a context. And then third, their response to COVID-19, which we all share in, they had a very coordinated response, and they've been extremely flexible and adaptive.